What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Dennert with Dugout Mugs. We're coming to you live. You know, we love doing this kind of stuff. We get to talk with heroes of the baseball community. Oftentimes it's players, current players, past players. Today we're talking with a current player from the Cincinnati Reds. Now, if you don't know what Dugout Mugs are, because if you're watching this, maybe you haven't seen us before, we're the guys that make all these crazy mugs out of baseball bats. We hollow them out and turn them into probably some of the coolest mugs in the world, but I'm a little partial. But we're going to talk about a special mug that we made for a gentleman by the name of Brandon Bailey. So, Nate, if you can bring Brandon on, I'd love to, get into the story behind it. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you East Coast?
West Coast currently.
You're West Coast, so it's not too bad for you. Yeah, we're wearing down. It's 9:00 over this way. But yeah, man, so I'm glad. I appreciate you taking the time, jumping on. I know you're rehabbing a little bit. You're not pitching this season. You had an injury, right?
Yep. I had Tommy John, unfortunately. This is my second go around. Had my first TJ when I was 17 years old back in high school. Was able to pitch for 10 years post-surgery there. And second surgery came now in early February, right when spring training was about to get going. And so it was tough. It was a tough break for sure. I was super excited to start fresh with a new organization. Had a lot of opportunities coming in to try and earn a spot, maybe in the rotation or definitely in the bullpen. And no one ever wants to get hurt, but at the end of the day, it's just part of my journey and part of my process. So trying to take it with a positive attitude and just do everything I can to grow from this process and get better as a baseball player and as a person, and be ready for spring training 2022 and hopefully help the Cincinnati Reds win the division and hopefully a world championship soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Randall, my partner, the guy that actually came up with the idea behind the bat mug, and he was a pitcher as well. And that's one of the things that I think he really, because he talks to like kids coming up in the game, and I think you'd probably have advice, and maybe we'll get into that in a minute. But that's one of the things he said. He said it's about the journey, right? It's the whole thing is, the whole journey is your big leagues, not just the one or two accomplishments you made it there. And I've always loved that perspective from him, and to hear you say it's a reminder. But you mentioned last year, so I think for those who don't know, you were on the Astros, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So I actually started my career being drafted by the Oakland A's back in 2016, was traded to Houston a year later back in 2017, played for Houston for 2 full seasons in the minor leagues, made it all the way to Double-A, and then was actually picked in the Rule 5 draft, the major league portion, by the Baltimore Orioles, and was sent over there for spring training 2020. And then if you don't know Rule 5, it's kind of confusing. Basically what it is prospects that aren't protected on their 40-man when they're eligible by their current team are eligible to be drafted in the Rule 5 portion, which essentially is just any team can make a selection of a player and then put them on their 40-man roster. So it's just a way that Major League Baseball kind of gives prospects an opportunity to move on from their current organization in case they are blocked. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with Baltimore, and I was actually sent back to Houston in 2020. And with COVID and everything that happened, spring training 2.0 came around in July, and luckily I was able to show up and pitch really well. And a couple injuries happened in the bullpen, and I was able to make a spot on the opening day roster and was able to make my major league debut. So it's been quite the roller coaster ride. And then
sounds like it's been kind of crazy since too, because I mean, you made your debut. You got what? I think Nate was telling me like 7 innings in, did well, and then the roller coaster takes off again.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was traded to Cincinnati this past offseason, and then obviously with TJ wasn't able to pitch this year. So it's just the constant movement that is professional baseball. Every year is a little bit different, but it's part of the experience. It's part of the journey, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can't lose sight of that, And I tell you, the Astros, they got some studs, man. There's a few guys over there that we work with quite a bit. Lance McCullers, Joe Smith. He recently got traded. I think he's in Seattle now.
Yep.
Joe's amazing, and the charity, the work that he does with Help Cure HC and Alley. We work with those guys, and then the Lance McCullers Foundation did a little bit with, Houston Strong too. A few years back, whenever the hurricane hit. So we've been in and around that organization a little bit, and then up in Cincinnati. worked with a couple of the newer guys, and then also Pete Rose. He's obviously pretty well known up that way. Yeah. Not allowed in the stadium, which is just that's a whole nother podcast
crazy
conversation. But yeah, so there's some studs up there too. There's a couple guys that bats are coming. Yeah, India, he's up there, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah, he's having a really good season. Yeah, he's playing really well.
Right,
and it's awesome to see. Yeah, it's just awesome to see. The team has been really resilient. Had to battle a lot of adversity this year with just injuries, and then just the Milwaukee Brewers are just playing out of their minds right now. Mm-hmm. So the division's definitely been super competitive division, but just persevering. And now I think we're in the second wild card spot, trying to catch up to the Los Angeles Dodgers and hold off the Padres, which are two amazing teams. It's just been a really awesome team to watch, because it's just to see the guys, coming together, and some of the players like, just India having a great rookie season, and Jesse Winker with his first All-Star game appearance, and Joey Votto is now leading the league in home runs in the second half of the year, and just playing like his old self when back in his prime, and having some pitchers really rise up and step up. Art Warren and Tejan Antone. Those guys just in the bullpen really stepping up and pitching well. So it's been a fun team to watch, and I'm excited to be a part of that next year.
Votto, that was cool, man. So I'm 40, right? And I've been watching baseball for a minute, so I got to see him his whole career. You're right, like to see him just like, I don't know what he's been drinking or eating after the All-Star break, but like came unglued. And then a couple, I'll say no name, but not like primo stars. You got Winker, and Castellanos been around for a while, and these guys are just coming unglued behind the, with the bat. So it's really cool to see that. You're right. So I'm a Rays fan. Like we're down in Tampa Bay. I actually live in Lakeland. That's why I have a Tigers hat. Mm-hmm. But we're close to Tampa to see what those guys can do on like no budget. Mm-hmm. Right. But then you got the Dodgers. I mean, they're just stacked, and the Yankees are stacked. They're always stacked. So I love seeing teams that just outplay. Right. It's a really cool thing as a fan to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a testament to a lot of those organizations' player development systems in the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. Being able to find diamonds in the rough, guys that other organizations might have undervalued, and helping them become the best versions of themselves, and helping them believe that they can have success at the highest level. You know what I mean? It's really awesome to see, and I'm definitely one of those guys. Not being a super high round draft pick and a little bit undersized as a pitcher, and don't throw 100 miles an hour, but I was definitely lucky enough to be in a couple of organizations that saw my potential and helped me definitely improve as an athlete and as a baseball pitcher. And now I'm in another organization that I hope can contribute here relatively soon.
Yeah. You don't have too much longer to wait. Speaking of, so like we'll wrap up talking about baseball, because I really want to dig into the mugs, and I know you got that one with you. I always ask two questions, like, who is the one person coming up, because you're newer to the show, right? Who is one guy that you've watched that you're like, I really look forward to meeting that person, or playing against them, or pitching against them? Who is that for you?
Geez, especially early on in my career, I would have to say Tim Lincecum, just when I was like in high school and in college, just because back in the day, the freak, right? He was in the National League West divisions, and I grew up in Colorado in the Denver area, so I always went to Rockies games. So it seemed like we were always playing the Giants, or in San Francisco playing the Giants. And that was back in the days when the Giants won World Series. I want to say it was like 2010, 12, and 14.
3 and 5 years or something.
Yeah, and Lincecum won Cy Youngs in back-to-back years. I want to say, I don't remember, it was 2009 and 2010. Just unbelievable, right? And here's a guy that was pitching in a time where, undersized pitchers were like, oh, yeah, no, don't want that. We got to have tall, lengthy guys, that downward trajectory on the ball, whatever, and all that nonsense. But here's a guy, 5'10", 180 pounds, just absolutely carving up the league. And I was like, man, I would love to one day be that type of pitcher, just someone that just is kind of undervalued, undersized, and kind of overlooked, but, just can flat out get guys out. And then now currently, ironically as it may be, Sonny Gray. It's crazy that I can call him my teammate. And I actually got to meet Sonny briefly in spring training before I had to get surgery. And it was one of those moments I was just like, this guy, I've been watching this dude pitch ever since he was at Vanderbilt. And I was just like, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
So those two guys.
Be a fan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the day you stop doing, and trust me, we make baseball bat beer mugs for a living. Like the day you stop doing something you love, like it gets tough, So the fact to stay a fan and still have that kind of passion and running into some of those dudes. So that's pretty cool. My guy was Griffey growing up, like, cause that's kind of my era. And I got to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award dugout mug backstage in LA. Dugout mug that we made. And that's awesome. I told the cameraman, I'm like, bro, you got to get a picture of this, right? And we've collabed on a couple things, since, but it was cool to still be a fan, but
absolutely.
Anyway, let's jump into the thing because there's a couple charities, and we're going to talk about them in a second, that because you have a Native American background, the Chickasaw Nation, if I'm correct, the Chickasaw tribe, and that's something you're extremely passionate about, and that's a conversation we had, or my team had with you when we were making this mug. So do you have that one with you?
Yeah, I actually do. It's right here.
Oh, sweet.
This is that's the camera there. Oh, let it go this way.
Yeah. So a lot of people look at that and like, that's a really cool design, but there's a lot more to it than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So fill me in on what that is, because I don't know, and I wanted to wait for you to tell me, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, my grandfather Keith Bailey and my dad Brad Bailey were very passionate and very proud of our family heritage, obviously being a part of the Chickasaw Nation. And when I was born, the day I was born, my grandpa Keith was there, and he gave me the name Nita Iskinosi, and in our Muskogean language, it means little bear. And the reason he gave me that name is because I came out of the womb and I had a full head of hair, right? I was just like a full head of hair, and that's what stuck out. And he looks like a little bear, and so he gave me that name, and my native name being Nita Iskinosi. You can kind of see it here on the mug. Just kind of across the bottom, and then obviously the bear on the top just looks very ferocious, very, very strong, and very, I would say, angry in a sense, and aggressive, which is kind of what I pitch like on the mound. I kind of channel that same type of attitude and energy that the bear kind of represents, just going out there and just wanting to attack my opponent, attack the hitter, and just be violent and ferocious on the mound. So that's kind of the brief story of the bear itself and the name. And then obviously the mountain range underneath the bear is my home, which is Boulder, Colorado, where I grew up and spent my first 18 years of my life before I went off to college. So the mountain range definitely speaks to me, just because it reminds me of no matter where I go in life, I can always go back home, because that's where my parents and my mom and my dad live. It's where I was raised. It's where I grew up. It's where I learned my morals and ideals as an individual. It's where I learned right from wrong, and it always is a place that I can go back to and be centered with myself as an individual. So that's kind of the background of the image on the mug. And then obviously it ties into my Native American heritage. Growing up, I didn't grow up on the reservation. Obviously, like I said, I'm from Denver, Colorado. But my family and my dad and my grandfather were very open about our family heritage and kind of where we come from as a family. And obviously being a part of the Chickasaw Nation, they introduced me to that. And I just took it upon myself to want to learn about the tribe, where we come from as a people, and my family heritage. My great grandfather, George, my grandpa Keith's father, he grew up in a time where he had to go to an Indian boarding school. And it was a very sad time, obviously, the deculturization of Native American people, trying to kill the Indian and save the man. And my great grandfather had to go through some horrible, horrible things during that time. And I learned later on in life, before I was born, when my grandfather was in a nursing home. I guess one day my dad tells me this story. He was there taking care of him, and he said something in Chickasaw, because I guess the nurse was kind of being rough on him or something like that. And my dad asked him, he said, Grandpa George, can you still speak our language? Can you still speak Chickasaw? And he said, to be honest with you, Brad, when you get beaten as a child for speaking your native tongue, you tend to want to forget. And my dad passed on that story to me, and it just was like heartbreaking to hear something like that my great grandfather, who was full-blooded Chickasaw, lost a part of his identity and was told that who he was wrong, and that was a bad thing, that he was an Indian. And, obviously my grandpa Keith and my father, Brad Bailey, have done an amazing job of making sure to tell my sister and I and teach us about where we come from as a family and who we are as people, and to not be ashamed that we're Native. And, I have a lot of people all the time ask me, like, so like, do you live on the reservation? Like, do you, like, it's crazy, like ride horses and like all that type of stuff. It's like, no,
people are just naive, bro. Like, that's what it really comes down to.
I wouldn't
and
say
that's why
naive.
Conversations like this are important. Like, people just don't even know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily, naive, but just like you said, just don't really know what Native people look like in today's world, And I had a professor at Gonzaga. I studied Native American studies as a minor. She was like, you are just as Native as someone that lives on the reservation. You are what in 2020 a Native American person looks like, because Native people are just as much a part of the melting pot that is the United States and America as any other race or ethnicity, right? Unfortunately, soon there will only be, half Native people or whatnot in terms of blood quantum, but that doesn't take away from the fact that our family heritage and our lineage, that's who we are as individuals. So that's kind of the story behind the mug. That's kind of a little bit about my family background and my Native American heritage, and I'm very proud of it, for sure.
Well, and I think pride gets you through a lot of things. I was having a conversation with a business colleague of mine the other day, and one of the things that he and I were talking about is family values, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not, because the world, as we're watching, every day right now, everybody's trying to change everybody's mind about everything.
Yeah,
right? It's very conflicted. Yeah. And he and I were talking about family values, about creating that in and around your family. Like, we know who we are and we know who we aren't. And it's actually something that we've adopted with Dugout Mugs as well. I mean, we've had significant growth as a company over the last 5 years. And I think we're very clear on who we are, and we're very clear on who we aren't and what we do. Right. So because we've created those same family values. So I think there's a lot to that, and, especially generational.
Yeah.
Right? If people stop talking about it, it goes away. Mm-hmm. It's gone. Right. And there's two, and I think it's dugoutmugs.com/Bailey. It's at the bottom of the screen for anybody who wants to check that out. You can get that mug that Brandon just showed. And there's also the signature series, the red signature series that we have. And it's going to, there it is. And it's going to support two charities, right? Like, there's two, and I want you to talk about those because I wouldn't do them justice otherwise. Right? It's the truth.
Yeah. So obviously Dugout Mugs is going to make a substantial donation to the Chickasaw Foundation, which is basically designed, it's a 501c3, which helps raise money for Chickasaw people in a few different ways, whether it be scholarships for kids that are wanting to go to college, or just families that are in need with special circumstances. They may be, COVID-19 and some of those hardships that are going on. So it's just a really great charity that helps the Chickasaw Nation as a whole and my tribe as a people. And then the other organization that what we're going to do is all of the proceeds that I would make from both of these mugs, I'm going to be donating to the American Indian College Fund, which is just another 501c3. They just try to raise money for Native children and Native kids across the country that aspire to go to college, and provide scholarships to those kids who might be trying to figure out, well, how am I going to pay for college? It's super expensive. Do I need to get a job? Do I need to get two jobs? How trying to help their parents out if their parents are like, we can't, this is very expensive. We're going to have to figure something out. It just gives kids another opportunity to apply for money and scholarships and grants to help further their education, which for me, I was extremely blessed to be able to go to Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington, on a full ride. And some of the money that I was able to raise came from the Chickasaw Nation and some of their academic scholarships that they provided me to pursue my dream of furthering my education and getting a college degree. So both organizations do a really good job of helping Native students try and continue their education and further their careers in the future.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, I'm not going to add anything to that. I can't, right? So that's what it is. Dugoutmugs.com/Bailey. That's how we help. If you want to, if you are Native, like, it makes no sense not to get that mug. And if you want, we can actually make it without your name under it. If you want or not want, that's up to you. Just put the bear in the mountain range. And for that matter, we could probably customize it with somebody's own name. Yep. I know my team has capability to do that, so that would be pretty cool. And then there's all obviously the Reds, the Reds mug, which is a standard signature series, which we make with actually any player. We have the PA license, so we can do that for any player. So I got a question. What are you doing after baseball? Do you think you're gonna dig in? Obviously, it's a little premature because you came up to the bigs last year and you're rehabbing right now. I mean, hopefully you got a 10, 15-year career ahead of you, but there's always chapters, right?
Yeah.
And from somebody who's obviously understands the power of storytelling, like, what's that next chapter say? Have you put any thought? Is it going to be anchored in your background?
Yeah. So I actually had a unique perspective growing up in high school just because I had Tommy John surgery when I was 17. Back before I pitched in college, back before I pitched an inning in professional baseball, I had a moment in time where I couldn't play baseball. I couldn't do what I love to do for almost a year in high school. So it kind of gave me the perspective of sports and baseball is not forever, right? There is going to come a day when I can't play this game anymore. Hopefully that isn't today, or hopefully that isn't in the future, but right now I can't play. So it got me thinking about what would life look like after baseball. And it was motivational in a way, because now I've been blessed, to have 10 healthy years of college and professional baseball under my belt. And here we are again, unfortunately, having to have my second Tommy John surgery. But I've continued to be motivated to try and set myself up in the best position I can for life after baseball. And right now I've got an internship left and one more class, and I complete my master's in sport coaching from the University of Northern Colorado. And then I also currently am an employee of Driveline Baseball. Had an internship with them back in 2019 as a throwing trainer and pitch design expert. So it's looking more and more like I want to be either a college baseball coach or a professional baseball coach in some aspect. But also I was blessed with the opportunity before I got drafted to actually be awarded the Nike N7 internship, which was an opportunity for me to work at Nike's headquarters during the summer of 2016 and work with their Nike N7 line, which, if you're not familiar with that, basically what it is, it's clothing like kind of what I'm wearing here, which is geared towards Native American people. And what the Nike N7 Fund does is it raises money for tribes and Native American communities to host Nike N7 clinics and camps on the reservation. So it's just a way to get Native kids active through sport. And it's a really great program. So that might be also something that I might look into post baseball, depending on just where I'm at in life. Maybe coach, or maybe one day work for Nike. Those would be my two dream jobs.
Not bad options, bro. They're not bad options at all, man.
Yeah.
The coaching, Randall, he had an itch, right, to get back into the game. He had to get back into the game somehow. It was like, it gets taken away from you, no matter how long you've been there, there's a hole. And he went back into coaching, and thank God he did. Like, did you even know the story of how this thing came up? It's crazy. So
no, I actually don't. Yeah.
So we make baseball bats out of, or baseball bat barrel beer mugs, or whatever you want to put in. You don't have to drink beer. But
water.
Whatever. I'm drinking water. So this is our new one. Have you seen our new one? It's a stainless. No. It looks like Well, dude, like it's literally spill proof, right?
Wow.
This is the new dugout mug stainless. It looks like an aluminum bat, right? 20 ounces and everything.
Yeah.
So how it started though is Randall was in the dugout. He's the pitching coach, and the hitting coach, he's actually the Diamondbacks, I think, was cutting off the barrels to do a hitting drill with just the handles. And there's all these barrels laying around the dugout. And Randall's like, "Hey, can I take those with me?" Guys like, "Yeah, whatever, man. You can have the bat barrels I just chopped off." And he took them home with a drill and just started drilling them out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I bet I can drink from that." And what a chaotic idea, right? For that to go into your head. You see it all over the ground. You're like, I'm going to drink out of that today. But that's anyway. You never know, right? You never know which path you're going to go down. And he went back to coaching because he's needed to be closer to the game that he loved again. And Dugout Mugs is born. It's wild how things happen.
That's crazy because now you look at them, it's an awesome product, right? It's like I've already tested out my mugs here, and it's like I love it, right? Just pour a little bit of Gatorade, a little bit of water, or a adult beverage if it's the weekend, and it's great. It's awesome, and I think it's totally cool. They're fully customizable for that way you can express yourself as a sports fanatic.
You saw that firsthand. I mean, we took a couple of shots at it, but man, we nailed it. Like it looks really good.
Yep.
So they're fully customizable. Weddings, obviously that's a huge thing. We were talking about that before you came on. The groomsmen gift side of it. You said you were getting married coming up?
Yeah, I got engaged to my beautiful fiance, Rachel, back in May. Looking like we're going to have the wedding set for November of 2022. So about a year away right now, but we're fully diving into the wedding planning and all of that stuff. So which has been a lot of fun and just enjoying engagement. And that's one of the positives that has came from my surgery is that I've gotten to spend this entire baseball season with her and just being able to be fully engaged in what we're doing as a couple and being able to celebrate our relationship as we
you never get it back. You never get that time back, I had a similar situation. The details are irrelevant, but and even with COVID, right? COVID has impacted everybody in a lot of different ways. And I have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. So now I got to spend I work from home anyway, most of the time, but I got to spend a year playing with my 2-year-old and my 7-year-old, right? So this is time. And again, it's similar, but different. You got to find that silver lining, right? You got to be positive about these kinds of things. So yeah, you're out, but you're in, you're into something at the end of the day is going to be even more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations on the engagement. We're coming up on a half hour. I won't burn up too much of your time.
It's all good.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging out, telling us a little bit about what you got going on. I don't know if Nate told you, but like the whole mission behind Dugout Mugs is we celebrate and serve heroes of the baseball community, by making awesome gifts. That's what we do. And then I want you to talk about you just did a call with Bob Holtzman. We got that all coordinated, which is super cool. Yep. And in a very real way, you're a hero to the Chickasaw Nation, right? That you're representing on one of the highest levels. I think that's very admirable and doing so with pride, because a lot of people hide pride, right? Because they don't know how they'll be received, but it's like, here's me, take it or leave it, right? And I think that's a heroic gesture, and I know the people behind you would absolutely agree. So I thought this all came together perfectly with our Cheers to Charity initiative, and that's why we did this. So,
well, I really appreciate yourself and Dugout Mugs being willing to tell my story as an individual, but I don't see myself as a hero personally, just because the Chickasaw Nation has done so much for me. Just as an individual, someone that didn't grow up on the reservation, someone that is, not half-blooded or full-blooded Chickasaw, but that they've embraced me and welcomed me and my family with open arms into the tribe and done so much for my life that I feel like as a professional athlete, I need to use my platform to raise awareness on Native American issues and also, try and be the best role model that I can for young Native kids out there that don't have a ton of people that they can turn to and look at as especially in the professional sports world, and be like, I want to be like that person. So I'm honored to say that you dug out mugs and yourself look at me as a hero. But
that is heroic, and I think acknowledging it and accepting it is a good thing, because I think it empowers more what you're doing, right? We all have our special talents, and we all have our platforms, and you're using yours, man. That in and of itself is something that is a rarity, unfortunately. So keep doing it, keep doing it, and bring in light to things that need to be illuminated.
Yeah, I've been super blessed in my life, and I've had a lot of great opportunities to pursue my passions. And my hope is that through this collaboration with Dugout Mugs, we can give young Native American kids the opportunity to pursue their passion, whatever it may be, in higher education. And that's ultimately my goal. And then also just to help motivate kids to be active through sport. If just one Native American kid watches this video, or one kid of any ethnicity watches this video and is motivated to go outside and play and be active and live a healthy lifestyle and play sports, or, if we're lucky, play baseball, then I would say this was a successful collaboration and meeting for sure.
Absolutely. So we'll leave on one bit of advice. Obviously, you want to be a coach. Potentially, you were a coach, and you were given a lot of opportunities by people that took Little Bear and turned him into Big Bear, right?
Yeah.
Every player's got a lot of advice, what to do or what not to do. What would be one of the things that you got an up and coming pitcher, an undersized guy? Like what's one thing you would do other than watch me and let me be your Sonny Gray, right? What would you tell him?
I would say work hard in school first and foremost. Especially in the game of baseball, college scholarships are super hard to come by. I was able to go to Gonzaga University on a baseball scholarship, but I also had to get really good grades to help get a little bit more scholarship money to cover the difference, right? So number one thing is to take academics seriously, and have a growth mindset, right? Never be satisfied with who you are as an individual, because there's always somebody better, right? There's always going to be someone more talented, bigger, faster, stronger than you. So continuously have that drive and that growth mindset to want to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's in all aspects, in all areas of life, not just baseball. So that'd be, whether if you're a big brother, be the best big brother that you can be. If you're a husband, be the best husband that you can be. If you're a son, be the best son or daughter that you can be, and then also be the best teammate you can be, and the best student. Try to live a well-rounded life, and not just focus on one thing, which is whether it be sports, but try to be the best version of yourself every single day in all areas.
Yeah, that's sage advice, man. No, there's no such thing as perfection, right? But literally, if you just win that day, you put enough of those days together, you end up throwing in the bigs, right? You end up doing a lot of amazing things in the world. So,
absolutely.
All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you. We'll put this out there. We are going to be giving away an autograph mug, I believe, one or two. We're going to give away some autograph stuff, and I know we'll post about it. You'll share about it, and to be honest, I think we should try to touch base with the Chickasaw Nation, see what's going on over there. I know you got some folks over there. Let's put some of these mugs over that way and let them know that it's going back to help the foundation, Chickasaw Foundation. Maybe we actually could do some pretty cool stuff here. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, man, I'll leave that ball in your court. We'll collaborate. Everybody, it's Chris from Dugout Mugs, Brandon Bailey. Appreciate your time, brother, and swig for the fences.
Hey, thanks, Chris. It was been awesome. Right. Thank you so much.
Yep.